Hello, good morning, viewers, and welcome to our next session on hazards. The last session we discussed about hazard. We looked at exactly what a hazard is. We said that a hazard is something that has the potential to cause harm, and then we said the harm was in three categories. One was injuries and illnesses. Related harm. We also said harm related to property damage. And then the last one was harm related to environmental damage. We looked at some examples of hazards such as electricity, dust, extreme temperatures, and what have you. We also discussed the 6 types of hazards, which are safety hazards, physical hazards, chemical hazards, psychosocial hazards, and then economic hazards. Today we're going to continue, and then we're going to look at what we call hierarchy of controls. So it is not enough for us to just identify hazards in the workplace and then leave it like that. You must as well do nothing, because if you just know about the hazards and do nothing, the risks of those hazards are present, and they may still cause harm to workers. So it is important that we provide control measures each time we do hazard analysis and we identify hazards in the workplace. Now, in prescribing control measures, we usually recommend that you follow this hierarchy, because the hierarchy is very important. And the first component is to eliminate the hazards. So when we talk about elimination of hazards, we mean completely removing the hazard from the workplace. So let's say, for example, you have a hole that workers can trip over. All right. Now, one way to completely remove this hazard from the workplace is to seal it. So if you seal it to the level of the rest of the ground with concrete or mortar or even gravel, then the hazard is completely removed. So the risk of tripping over it is gone with the hazard, and no one is going to trip, no one is going to get harmed, no one is going to get injured. So that is the best form of controls in terms of when you try to put in control measures for hazards that has been identified. But it's not always feasible, right? That's why we have other controls. And the next one is substitution. So what we do with substitution is we try to look at a less damaging material or process compared to the existing. Okay, so for example, let's say you're going to do painting, and the plan is to use oil paint. So oil paint is very toxic, or it contains a lot of fumes, and if you inhale these fumes in substantial quantities, they could cause respiratory related issues for you. Repeated exposure may even lead to lung diseases or even lung cancer, right? So you could look at replacing this kind of hazard or material with water-based paint, which is emulsion. And the effect of painting and the hazard presented initially is gone, because water-based paint hasn't got fumes that could cause these kind of harm, right? Now, the third third level of control is what we refer to as engineering controls. And engineering control means that using engineering to isolate people from the hazard. So this can be as simple as creating a fence around the hazard. So let's say you have a robot that is operating, and you don't want people in there. You could just create a physical fence which is lockable, so that when the robot is in operation, workers cannot enter there. Another example is interlock system. For the same fence, I mean, once you open the door, the interlock will trigger for the robot to stop working. So these are also engineering controls which are very effective when you use them. The next one is administrative controls. So administrative control, you try to change the way people work, and this can range from providing training, providing instruction, providing signages like safety signs, and so on and so forth. When we use job rotation in the workplace to make sure that the same person doesn't do a hazardous work activity for a long time. Let's say, for example, in a noisy area, you don't want one person working in a noisy area for 8 hours, right? So you can rotate the workers maybe every 1 hour or every 2 hours, so that different people are exposed to the hazard at minimal rate, and then no one gets harmed. Yeah. So the last and the least effective, is what we refer to as PPE, personal protective equipment. So by providing personal protective equipment to workers to use to prevent, example, head injury, foot injury, hand injury, I mean, we're talking about gloves, safety boots, hard hats, this way we also controlling hazards. But that comes with its own limitation, because if the PPE is not correct, if not the right one, then you are as well still exposed to the hazard. Or if it is overutilized, then it deteriorates and it loses its value, and it's no longer protective enough. So it's very important to take note of this and make sure that the PPE which is provided are adequate, the correct type of PPE, and also not overutilized. So it's interesting to note that in the hierarchy, as you go down, it becomes less effective, and it is important to also note that you can combine them to become more effective. For example, you can use engineering controls as well as signages and work instructions, which are administrative, together with PPE to make it more effective. So you can do that. You must not necessarily use one of them. In fact, it is only elimination that could just take away everything, and you will not require to apply any of the other hierarchies of control. So that is it for today. Thank you very much. And if you have any comments, just put them in the comment section, and I'll be glad to clarify all your queries. Thank you, and have a great day.